Immersed robot.
Hello everyone, welcome to the VR Ramble, and this week I wanted to talk about the ludicrous HTC hype train marketing followed by the crushing disappointment that inevitably follows quite a lot of HTC's marketing strategies lately. But we'll get onto that. I shouldn't be too harsh on them because there were some innovations mentioned here anyway, and it's interesting stuff nevertheless, not quite what I was looking for. But for anybody that doesn't know, this is based on a few tweets that were made over the past week really. The first one dropped by HTC Vive on the 4th of March, and it showed the Vive logo, which is just part of the Vive logo surrounded by black plastic, and that's really all there was. It was accompanied by a comment which said it's your move, and this was followed on the 8th of March by another image which just showed a hinge, part of a hinge and part of another product, and then the accompanying text with this one was express yourself. And then there were a few other things, so even Oculus got into this as well. The Oculus account tweeted to them with like a chess move, and HTC Vive tweeted back, and there was a bit of back and forth like that. And they also had another tweet which referenced what would you do with 75% more energy. Nobody really knew exactly what was going on, although some people had already traced this hinge back to the Vive facial tracker lip tracker product. But the hype that was based around this was also following something else. So this was following an interview that HTC Vive president Alvin Graylin had recently done with Teleport Me, and in that interview he had mentioned sort of standalone products, standalone headsets, VR headsets that they were working on, not necessarily Quest competitors, but the wording around that was a little bit iffy anyway. So all of this just helped build up the hype in the community, and everybody was hoping for a new standalone VR headset from HTC Vive which would or would not compete with the Oculus Quest, which is, you know, what a lot of people really do want. And unfortunately for some people, myself included, who was a little bit disappointed by these announcements, on the 10th of March HTC did announce the Vive facial tracker and the Tracker 3.0 puck. So the Vive facial tracker, it features dual 60Hz cameras to track 38 facial movements across lips, jaw, teeth, tongue, chin and cheeks, and has 6 milliseconds latency. And you know, it's an addition, it's an add-on for the Vive Pro headsets and the Vive Pro Eye. So this is the other thing, you can't, even if you own a Cosmos, you can't attach this onto that. It's purely for the Vive Pro and the Vive Pro Eye, which are, you know, the highest end, the higher end products that they do really. The Tracker 3.0 puck is a replacement for the original trackers, and it's 33% smaller and has 75% more battery life, but it's also 33% more expensive, coming in at $130. The facial tracker is also $130 too, so these are both set at that $130 price point. The reason I was personally disappointed by this is because of the build-up, the hype train. These tweets, they're really marketing these big things, it feels like sometimes, and perhaps that's more of a mistake on my part and a mistake on the part of the community, reading too much into these tweets that HTC seem to do from time to time, because it wasn't a headset. Although I do believe they are still working on a standalone headset, that wasn't what they were hyping up at this time. But followed by such two relatively low-key products really. These are not going to be widespread consumer-based products. These are sort of for development purposes and that kind of stuff. Not to say that consumers can't purchase these, of course they can, but they will have limited functionality at the moment. The trackers can be used for body tracking and things like that in VR chat or those kinds of applications, but there's really not a wide range of applications that even support body tracking of that type, so it's not a widespread consumer kind of product really. The other reason I'm particularly disappointed with the trackers is, if there's one thing that needs to be addressed with these things, in my opinion, it's the price. Now, it's easy for me to sit here and just say, make them cheaper. I know that's not always possible. I know that they're a business and they're pricing these things so they can make some profit from them, and they're pricing them based on how many they think they can sell, and all of these things are taken into account. I understand that. It's just that looking at this from a consumer point of view, the single most important thing for a tracker of this type, where really you need to purchase 2 or 3 of them for them to become worthwhile in terms of body tracking for that single example, then price is of course one of the most significant things that they need to address with this product, in my opinion at least. This also comes at a time when only sort of a week or so ago there was an announcement by the company Stonks, which are releasing dev kits for a body tracking system for just $80, which includes the beacon and then 2 passive pucks, which don't actually contain any electronics, but they're passive pucks which were picked up by the beacon to allow body tracking. Now I know that system at the present time is only 180-degree body tracking, but they are working on a 360-degree body tracking system, which will go for $165, they're hoping. So this is a time when body tracking is probably going to be getting cheaper as time goes on, and these particular Vive trackers, if they're used for this use case of body tracking, they're going in the opposite direction. I feel like this is a mistake by HTC, if I'm honest, because I can't see myself picking up these trackers. I can't see myself picking up 2 of these trackers for $260 just to try body tracking. It doesn't make a lot of sense in those aspects. Now again, this is HTC's choice as a business to price them however they choose to price them. I'm not really judging them on that. I just, in a wider context, I just see this as a mistake for a company to go down that route of these trackers to be quite so expensive if they want to capture any kind of mainstream consumer market regarding this. And perhaps that's not their purpose. Maybe that's not their purpose, so we can take that on board as well. With regards to the facial tracker, this is, again, it's another interesting innovation by HTC, and the price isn't outrageous, I don't think, for this particular product when we're not seeing anything really like this at the moment. And again, it feels like these are 2 products which are focused around the social VR community, VR chat. You know, the social experience will probably be enhanced by having some kind of realistic facial tracking within VR, which can represent yourself better within that virtual environment. I can understand that. You know, this is something I would love to try, but it's not really something that I'm overly excited about at the moment. It's quite obtrusive, it sticks out quite a long way from your headset, it looks like, and you know, it leaves itself open from damage from being hit by controllers and those kinds of things as well. So these are all things that need to be worked out in my opinion as well. But I would love to try it. The issue with the facial tracker though is that it only works with the Vive Pro and the Vive Pro Eye. The Eye version has the eye tracking built into it as well. So again, that would be a great product to use with social VR experiences accompanied with this facial tracker as well. Unfortunately, it won't work with the Cosmos headset. So that was their latest headset, which they pushed a little bit, but it failed in most ways. I think people would say it didn't really take off in the way I'm sure HTC would have hoped. But yeah, it's just disappointing that they wouldn't allow this product to also work with that one. Limited, you know, I can understand from an engineering point of view if they've got limited ways that they can attach these peripherals to a multitude of headsets. I can understand that. It's just, again, another little small disappointment from HTC. So HTC's strategy overall is confusing to me. It's been confusing since the Vive, really. I thought the Vive was a fantastic product. It was my first consumer VR headset. I absolutely loved that headset and I kept it for a long time. But since then, I don't really understand a lot of the decisions, at least from a consumer point of view. I don't understand the decisions that HTC have made since then. And I feel like HTC, even if they were to bring out a standalone headset, which hopefully they will, it's difficult to compete directly with the Oculus Quest from a consumer point of view because I don't see HTC competing on price. They can't do that. So they need to work out a way to compete in other ways. And these are all things that they probably need to look at in order to create a product that could even compete against the Oculus Quest. But you know, it's interesting what Alvin Grayling did say in that interview with Teleport Me. He said that the standalone headset they're working on, he doesn't see it as competing directly with the Oculus Quest, and that could be as simple as they're not going to compete with it in terms of price because they're simply not in a position to do that. But perhaps, you know, it could have higher functionality. They could add other value options in there as well somehow, perhaps. I'm not too sure, but it's interesting to note that they are still working on a standalone headset because most people would probably argue that the main thing is to not allow Facebook to get too far ahead in terms of the Quest and not not having any viable competitors to compete with that headset, which is just taken off in such an incredible way. And I do like the Quest 2, don't get me wrong, but I do think that a value to the industry as a whole could see a viable competitor enter the market too, and a lot of people had their hopes behind HTC to do that, and fingers crossed they can still pull something out of the bag, but they're not filling me with confidence based on the way they've marketed, the way they've brought out products, and all of these things since the Vive. They just don't fill me with a great deal of confidence at the moment. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to quickly mention before I go this week is that it looks like RotoVR did put up a story just to say that it looks like Oculus will be having 2 sponsored sessions at GDC next week on March the 17th. So this is presumably an online event which they will have 2 sponsored sessions, and these sessions are the future of gaming, quality and connection, and the speakers at that session are Jason Rubin, Michael Verdu and Denny Unger from Cloudhead Games will be there as well as Michael Carter from Playco. The other session is Squad Up, social multiplayer in VR with Population 1. So, you know, there's a couple of Oculus things there to mention at GDC next week, but I don't expect there'll be too much of a major announcement based on the titles of these sessions or anything. But, you know, it's something to look out for nevertheless. So that's pretty much it. Just wanted to really mention about the HTC stuff, and it's a little bit frustrating, unfortunately, but nevertheless, they're making their decisions. We'll see how it goes in the next few months with HTC and what they can bring out in terms of a standalone headset. It's an interesting time for VR anyway. But thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next time.
Please hesitantly tap the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more concise and informative VR content. You can also join our Discord by clicking on the link in the description of this video. And, as always, I'll catch you on the flippity flip.